Welcome to another episode of Wednesday Night Undress. Hi, everybody. I am Lou, your host, and this week I am joined by the best possible panel. We got Fernando,
Yay.
we got Evo,
Hello.
we got Alena, we got Andrei, and we got Coach.
I dressed my best for this.
Nice.
Hawaiian shirt for the listeners. It's beautiful.
It's a nice shirt. And Evo, we have to compliment you again on your shirt. You got this VW bug issue going on, VW bus, going on.
And it's almost like a satin shirt too. You touch it and it's like nice.
So you get the double pleasure of Evo's muscular body like on top of this smooth shirt.
Very nice.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. Yes.
It is awesome.
Thank you so much. Yes.
All right. Oh, Fernando, your shirt's nice too.
Thanks. It's a flowered polo shirt.
Yes. All right. Let's get started. All right. So I kind of put together a bunch of questions about our favorite things. That's going to be the theme of the show. And, as is typical, you can't do this show for as long as we have without repeating questions. So, we've probably talked about each one of these things in, separate, some aspect of it before. But today we're just going to talk about some of our favorite things. So, the first question is, do you form attachments to any of your possessions? Like having a favorite thing, and I'm talking about a physical thing, like a toy or watch, a car, pocket knife, some kind of tchotchke or something like that. So, does anybody here have a favorite thing that comes to mind when they see that question?
Yeah, I have a stuffed rabbit that I've had since I was born. I like him. He's a cool dude. His name is Snuzzy.
Snuzzy.
He for some reason I've never seen him wear anything but the same green pajamas that he's always in.
He got restuffed more than 3 times.
Yeah, he's been restuffed. He's been washed many times. Mom washed him a few days ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He gets pretty nasty sometimes.
Was it a Build-A-Bear or was it just a normal stuffed?
It was my sister's rabbit. It wasn't like a Build-A-Bear. It was just
a normal kind of plush.
Just an actual rabbit, like a
no plush toy. Yeah.
No, because
I like a taxidermy.
We all know a guy.
It's not taxidermy.
Yeah, who has a taxidermied cat in his living room.
Oh yes.
This is the most disturbing thing ever. Yeah, we've seen it multiple times.
I couldn't leave Mittens in the ground.
So it's a stuffed animal.
Yeah, it was originally my sister's, and then when I was born, my parents gave it to the rightful heir. And Sophia still gets upset about it on occasion.
Some issues. Okay.
But Snuzzy and I just have a bond that
cannot be broken.
Yeah,
When Snuzzy, there was Snuzzy got a little forgotten in Washington D.C. Perhaps it was Snuzzy or
Snuzzy has been left places before. I don't know if it was him that was in Washington D.C. I don't know. I did leave a stuffed animal in Washington D.C. one time, and it was really cool. One of the guys, Alfredo, who worked there, he was really cool to us.
Mm-hmm.
He took a picture with the stuffed animal and on the roof of the Hay Adams, so you could see the White House and stuff.
Nice.
And he said that he was just staying there for a little extra business, and he would be right back.
Wow.
And they mailed it back, so that was just cool. But yeah,
I have a friend.
Snuzzy used to go to work with my mom a lot.
Yeah, I have a friend, Coco Stoinov. He's a famous journalist in Bulgaria. He has a stuffed animal he calls Goshko, and it's a pig, a stuffed animal pig, that wherever he goes, like really emblematic places, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa or the Eiffel Tower. He goes there and takes picture of Goshko, the stuffed pig, in front of the landmark instead of himself.
Nice.
So
I like it.
He's traveling, but his stuffed animal is traveling and enjoying all the selfies. So it's kind of like you and Snuzzy.
Yeah, Snuzzy.
Wow, that's awesome.
I think
so Evo,
I originally tried to name him Smoothie, but Snuzzy sounded
where did
cool.
Smoothie come? I was a little curious about Snuzzy, but Smoothie is a little bit more disturbing.
Well, I remember wanting to name him Smoothie, and then I named him Snuzzy, and then I was like, well, I can't go back now.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
All right, Evo, I actually wanted to guess about you because I think I know what your like touchstone object is.
The wallet.
Yeah.
I
What do you think?
think if you look at Evo's wrist, for as long as I have known Evo,
Yeah, I've
Oh
always.
man, that was.
he like there were two things I was trying to think of if I was going to pick like what is sort of Evo's touchstone or like his emblem. Like if I was, there's a comic book called The Sandman, and in The
Yeah,
Sandman, it's
Neil
about
Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman Sandman, and it's got the seven endless. There's like death, destiny, desire, despair, dream, the Sandman,
Yeah.
uh, delirium. If I didn't say delirium already, and destruction. Those are the seven endless, and each one of these anthropomorphizations of like human conditions, they have a they're in their house. They have a room where they have like a symbol of each of their siblings, a
Mm-hmm.
sigil. And I was trying to figure out if I was going to have a sigil of Evo, if it would be that Live Strong bracelet
Yeah.
or just a ball cap.
Yes.
But it
Yeah.
would be one of the two.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
no,
observation.
no.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Yeah.
I figured out actually after I thought about that neither of those would be it.
Yeah.
It would be a shark tooth.
A what?
A shark tooth.
Shark tooth was huge for me.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
huge.
Was
I
it a
always had a
necklace?
shark tooth necklace.
Uh-huh.
I finally it broke, and I couldn't find the exact same one. But yeah, I do get attached to a few items like this. But I am going to make the podcast very long with this topic. I would go last
Mhm.
on this one.
Okay.
Because I have like quite a story to tell.
Okay.
So it's gonna take a while, and I'm gonna drive everybody crazy waiting their turn. So I'd rather have everybody else
All right.
talking.
All right, Fernando, do you have any?
Oh man,
Object?
like nothing very that I recall. Like I have a few things, and like my music was like a lot of stuff like in media, and now I kind of don't care. Everything is accessible. Even I have, but it's like to keep the
Mhm.
let's say the stash, the gold there. But doesn't matter. Even I can play any on my phone or whatever. Now streaming everything, but always was like very memorable. I keep they always in shape. Carry every Swiss Army knife. Few things, but not really the very that carry on for super long. Like I think I detach myself for a lot of things. Like I can't. I wish I recall something like Snazzy. Maybe once upon a time was my skateboard. Was like I think they had like short life, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, nothing very memorable. I would say.
So, question, just curious, do you give your cars personality? Do you name your
Cars?
cars? Yeah.
Never. That was like I think it's an American thing. I
think so?
I keep because like I know a lot of people that they're like fanatics with car. Like I knew even a guy that every weekend he had an old Volkswagen Bug but pristine. He kind of like do a detail his car every weekend.
Mhm.
Every weekend, and he even I think pulled the tires, like the full like a ring off the car to detail the car insanely. Imagine like that, but I never recall anybody call a car by a name. Like here, I see people call car like usually like they say she, right? Like for as
Typically, like something that you travel in.
and
is
when
a
I
huge
first time I
plus.
heard it, like it was very weird. Like and people love their cars, put this way, but I never like to see giving names to cars.
I would just say the personal concept for me personally with my car is that's the most expensive and nicest thing I've ever owned, and it probably will be for the foreseeable future. So I always like to give it a little personality, almost to not humanize it, but to treat it better. Like
Right.
if I have a name and a personality, whatever for my car, then I'm going to treat it better. It's almost like people. If you don't know someone's name or who they are, whatever, you may be a little standoffish and not put the time into that relationship. But like once you put, I don't know, some sort of connection with it, then you're open to it more. And I found I have treated my car better by giving these random personalities and whatever, to it.
So, what else, Coach? Are there any other things that come to mind when you think about attachments you have to stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Lou and I were talking about this before the podcast, but I was diagnosed with ADHD and ADD in January of this year. So for me, it's a hyperfixation.
Same here, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, again, we're gonna. Now that
It's
we
gonna
both know
derail.
that
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
ADHD, we're gonna derail this thing a bunch of times. But yes, the hyper focus, which is something that I always just kind of thought was like the way that people's mind works.
Right.
It has blown my mind that
Yeah.
most people don't work that way. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, totally fine. It again, that's the connection. But yeah, so with hyperfixation, you'll be onto something for all day, every day for about a week, and then you'll move on to something else, and then you'll move on to something else. For me, the one constant has been probably my glasses, which is a weird thing, but anytime, people have those tics of messing with their hair or rubbing their arms or whatever, mine's my glasses. I will push up my
There's
glasses.
nothing wrong with that.
Like, no, and that's
There's nothing wrong.
and some people do it because their glasses are sliding off their face.
Yeah,
right,
and
and
also there is no reason for that.
yeah, and for me, that's my little release. Is like, I'm in an awkward situation or something, or awkward silence. I'm just gonna touch and move my glasses. I did when I was coaching with Evo. I did have a watch that had a really big face. It was like a $14 Amazon watch, but it had a almost like a fidget spinner type around the watch face, and so I would just spin it and it would click.
Right.
And I loved that. So anytime I was on the sideline and I was mad or upset, I would just
You
spin.
mean like this here Samsung
Yes, like
Galaxy Watch with
but
the
without the smartness of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miss Alena.
Yeah.
Oh, how about you? Do you form personal attachments with your material things?
Yeah, I think I really do. I have so many tchotchkes at home. They're all tons of tiny little statues, all staring at each other. They look at each other. I set them up like they're in little plays at home.
Nice.
Sometimes I'm very attached to all of them. Some of them have names. It's like having a lot of toys, I guess. Like, because they're statues, but yeah, and the little puzzles. I make little puzzles and put them together. Like I made a film projector out of pieces of wood as a puzzle. Those things have a lot. I'm really connected to those things just because of all the work I put into them to then look at them afterwards.
I think you enjoy retro stuff like
Yeah.
turntables. You
Yeah.
love,
I love my
turntables. And she does those things, those puzzles. They're three-dimensional, intricate puzzles.
I remember.
And she
Yeah.
makes like a old-fashioned watch clock, old-fashioned clock. That's a 3D puzzle, and you put it out of these pieces. It comes in a box, and you put the pieces together, and it's a freaking working clock with mechanisms and everything, and it's beautiful. It has a pendulum, and
Oh yeah.
it's really spectacular, and other stuff like this.
Yeah, they're little. They're just little puzzles. I mean, I feel like they're just a flow steam. Like when I'm not having schoolwork to do or something, that helps me calm down doing little models. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's like the unnerdy Gundam.
Hold on, where you found those 3D puzzles? That's
On Amazon. If you check out, they're called Rocker ROKR puzzles.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. They're cheaper. They're a lot cheaper than like Legos, but they're more complicated, and it comes out with like a yeah. If you want to try it out.
One of them was a merry-go-round. One of the ones you made, right? Was a merry-go-round.
A music box.
Oh, music box.
Has
It was a
like,
music box.
yeah, the planets and.
Oh my gosh, and it's beautiful. Once you put them together, there's something magical about them. They're just beautiful. Is it my turn?
Let me go real quick because
Yeah.
I got like
Yeah.
3 things in particular.
Yes.
I have discovered that as I get older, I am much more attached to personal things if they are a gift. So there are things that, just as a for example, like I actually was super upset because I was late getting here today, so I didn't have a chance to grab it before I left. But for Father's Day this year, Julian gave me a Zippo lighter, and it has like the Egyptian gods on the front of it, and I carry it every day, all day, like literally from the moment I get up to I go to sleep. I don't smoke, um,
Yeah.
but I've got this Zippo lighter with me,
Yeah.
like at all times, and so I'm not sure that it is the device itself, or maybe the fact that like it's something that somebody has like captured. Somebody has paid attention, and that's cool to me. And the other thing is I like to collect stuff. My biggest collection is comic books.
Another ADHD, ADD. Yeah.
Amen, brother. So I lost my comic book collection because my old house had a flood in the
Flood.
basement,
Yeah.
and I think I cried like probably
Yeah.
more than I did when I got divorced.
Yeah.
Because I had been carrying these comic books with me like from the time that I was 8 years old until 2017, 2018 when we had when the basement flooded and I lost those comics. Like it it broke me for a while. So I don't know that I would have ever even considered myself as being attached to like a physical thing until like all of those memories that I no longer had were gone, or that I no longer had the physical like manifestation of all of those memories. So yeah, I think I do form physical attachments, and I kind of like where I am right now because I really thought that my answer was going to be my phone when I first started talking about it. But nah, I could get rid of this tomorrow and not. I mean, I'd have to have another one, but I have no attachment to this.
And that kind of brings up another interesting, not to derail this further, but it brings an interesting topic up of, are you attached to these because of what they are or because of the sentimental value that it gives you? Which is also really interesting to me. So,
All right, my brother, your turn.
Well, my story is gonna make this podcast a one-topic podcast. This is gonna be so long.
That's all right.
But I have dwelled on the topic for a long time. I wrote a massive story on this about items that we get attached to. And what prompted it was a trip I took to Houston, Texas. So I traveled to Houston, and that was like a 16-hour drive. And I spent 15 minutes in Houston. Then I got on the car and drove back. Why did I travel 32 hours to spend 15 minutes in Houston? It was because there was an item that I wanted to see there. So, 1986, winter of 1986, I was in the Army, and I still remember where I was when the shuttle Challenger exploded. It was quite an amazing. It was quite an amazing moment, and it was quite devastating. But what preceded it was the reason I went there. I went to Houston. So I was interested in a very curious item that was in Houston and still is. 1986, there was a high school. It was called Clear Lake High School in Houston. It's still there. And they had a soccer team, a girls' soccer team. And one of the assistant coaches was Ellison Onizuka. His daughter was on the team. And Ellison Onizuka was helping the team with everything he could. You know how assistant coaching is. And he would do everything for the team, whatever he could to help. As an assistant coach and a parent, and they were a decent team. And one day, the team came to him and said, "Hey, you have this soccer ball. We signed our names on it. Have it, take it with you to space." And he said, "Okay," because he was an astronaut. And he took the ball. It had the signatures of every girl on the team, and it had the writing, "Good luck, shuttle crew." He took the ball, and as you know, like 76 seconds into the flight, Challenger exploded. It was a very bizarre occurrence. it was an anomaly, a weather anomaly. The reason Challenger failed was because the temperature was below freezing in Florida, in Cape Canaveral, that day. That never happens. It happens once in like every 20 years.
Yeah.
But it happened, and it compromised part of the like panels, isolation panels. And so what happened was the fuel leaked, it compromised the shuttle, the integrity of the shuttle. It exploded, and all astronauts died. It was really traumatic because their relatives were on an observation deck at the same time,
Yeah.
watching in real time the launch of the shuttle because everything was supposed to go smoothly. There was even a teacher on the shuttle. Do you remember?
I went to the grade school that was named Kristen McAuliffe.
Yes.
I went to the grade school that was named after her.
Oh, wow. See, oh my gosh, everything's connected in this world. Amazingly, 2 days later, the soccer ball was discovered completely unscratched and untouched in the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
So they took that ball that survived miraculously and decided to give it back to the widow of Alison Onizuka. She said, I can't stand, having the soccer ball. I can't really handle it mentally, emotionally, and I want to give it back to the school. I also don't want it to be some forgotten artifact. I want it to be something that will be remembered. And so she gave it back to the school, and for whatever reason, the school forgot about the soccer ball. And for decades, the soccer ball laid forgotten in a small closet collecting dust. Until one day, relatively recently, they got a new principal at the school. And the new principal came upon the soccer ball and said, well, what is this soccer ball? What's going on here? And they told her the story of the soccer ball. And she said, wait a second. She took the soccer ball and she went to one of the parents in the school. I believe his name is Sean Kimbrough, and said, sir, can you please take this soccer ball with you to space? Because he was an astronaut. So he realized what the story of this soccer ball is, and said, and took the ball and took it with him to Baikonur, to Kazakhstan, because the shuttles weren't flying anymore to the ISS. So he took off from Kazakhstan and flew onto the ISS with the soccer ball. And the soccer ball spent something like 180 days in space, making countless circumferences of the Earth. And then one day he took the ball into the most beloved by all astronauts section of the International Space Station. And it is the observation deck of the International Space Station that has 6 giant windows in it. It's called the cupola. They call it the cupola. And he left the ball in the cupola to float in weightlessness, and took a stunning picture of the ball in front of the giant window with Earth in the background. And there was such a poetry in this moment, and this picture for the longest time was my Facebook picture, because it felt like those girls were trying to send a message about the love of the game. We like to say every 4 years that the world is soccer,
Right.
when the World Cup happens. Well, the girls felt like their world is soccer, and in a time in 1986 when the world was so polarized, and there was no yet the communism was yet happening, and they wanted to send a message to the world that the love for a simple game can conquer our differences. And I found it absolutely amazing that these astronauts that were supposed to take the ball to space somehow were taken to space by the ball 30 years after their death. That is the fastest flying soccer ball in the history of mankind. And the value of this ball, monetary value, was $5 when it was purchased, but it's really invaluable if you think about the message that it carries. So the ball came back to Earth with Sean Kimbrough, and he gave it back to the school. And this time they built a beautiful glass case cabinet for the ball with pictures describing the story of the ball, describing the entire saga. And now you can walk into Clear Lake High School on the Gulf Coast and spend some time in the presence of this item that is not supposed to be very valuable, but is actually invaluable. And that's the reason I went, to feel the message of the ball, to see the ball, to be in its presence. And I wanted to write a story about the ball, which I did. But when I was writing the story, I felt I need to contact a few people that are really famous in my homeland and ask them, if their house is on fire, what would be the one item that they would take with them and save from their house? So I asked a legendary violinist, Bulgarian violinist, who is the concertmeister of the greatest symphony in the world, the Concertgebouw Symphony in Amsterdam. And he's their first violin for many years. He's just a legend. And I expected that he would say, if my house is on fire, I would take my Guarneri, my violin that costs $7 million.
Yeah.
And it's priceless. This violin is completely priceless. It was made by the greatest luthier, quite possibly more famous than Stradivari. They were both from Cremona, and the violin is $7 million. And he said, "No, I'm not going to save that. I'm going to save my album with pictures, photos of my family, my parents, my grandparents, my children. This is the most valuable thing for me. I don't have it saved on a digital cloud. It's an album, and there is nothing more valuable for me than that." Then I asked a famous writer in Bulgaria what he would save. And he said, I would save the manuscript for my latest novel. And he said, and you know what? My house was actually on fire last year. My house was on fire, and we rushed with my daughter and my wife out, and that's the one thing I took, was the manuscript of my novel. Then I asked our friend Cedar.
Right.
You know Cedar?
Yes. Hi, Cedar.
Yeah, Cedar is a famous journalist in Bulgaria, just a very, very popular journalist.
And a good guy.
Television, and a good guy. And he told me, I have awards as #1 sports journalist in the country. I have all kinds of stuff. But what I would save is this little piece of paper that acknowledges that I was the top blood donor 5 years ago. I give blood whenever I can, and they gave me this diploma, this certificate acknowledging that I was the #1 blood donor. And then I asked Vasco the Patch, and he said, "I'll take Vasco the Patch." He has a guitar that was given to him by a famous musician who passed away, and he knew that he was going to die, and he gave him his favorite guitar before he died. So that was his item. The International Space Station is the singular most expensive item built by humanity. It is more expensive than the Hadron Collider, the Hadron Collider in Switzerland.
I just got to interrupt for a second. You haven't seen the computer that I use to house my porn collection. But go ahead.
That might be more.
All 75 terabytes.
Yes. But the International Space Station is the most expensive item created by humanity, and it is very special. And when you go to the cupola, and you look at Earth. Of course, we haven't done that, but all astronauts say the same thing. You are changed forever. Once you get there and look out of this window, you change. You come back a different human being to Earth. More composed, more thoughtful, more introverted. Why? Because they say the most amazing thing you see is not the moon or the stars or space, it is the earth. When you see the earth from afar, you recognize the fragility of life. You look at the atmosphere, and it appears as a thin blue line around earth. People compare it to um, the outside layer of an apple, only much thinner. And you recognize how fragile is the balance that separates love from the vacuum, from the death, instant death, and how much of a responsibility we have to maintain this delicate balance. So it is, I connected all these things, the soccer ball, the International Space Station, the items. Not one person said, I'm going to save my phone or my money or my jewelry. Everybody said, we're going to save something that means something to us from our house. And it got me thinking about my passport and about your passport. Because on the last page of every American passport, there's a quote. And it says, each generation carries the responsibility to help the next generation see the world from a new plateau, from a higher vantage point, and help humanity discover new horizons. Ellison Onizuka. So this is a quote by Ellison Onizuka, the guy who carried that soccer ball to space and perished in the Challenger disaster, and that soccer ball somehow made it back to space. I have a few items that I would save myself. I don't, my fingers are mangled from playing basketball all my life. I have multiple breaks on my fingers, and it's very hard to carry rings. So I, for decades, didn't have a wedding band. But recently, Jamie gave me a wedding band that actually fits, and so it's not a traditional gold wedding ring. It's black. It says "I love you" on the back, but we've been married for 30 years with Jamie. We've become one human being, one entity. And so I would probably save my wedding ring. It's made of probably 25% iron and 75% non-tritium.
My brain spinning the cogs to find out what element that is.
Non-tritium. And then you mentioned my Live Strong bracelet. I love it because, I mean, it's made of silicone. It survives for this. I had for 10 years. I haven't changed it for 10 years. I take showers with it. I swim with it in the ocean, whatever. It doesn't break. It's incredible. But it's because we've all either lost somebody to cancer, or have somebody that's been affected by cancer. All of us have dear friends that right now are struggling with cancer. My mom, we all have people. We've lost people, and this symbolizes the fight of humanity against this horrible disease. And I know Lance Armstrong has compromised his legacy, but he made a good choice. When he had power and money and influence, he chose to invest them in this, in the fight of humanity against cancer. And he became kind of a messiah for people that are struggling because he beat cancer in surmountable odds. So I love this. You mentioned the shark tooth. Yes, I love that shark tooth. I don't know why I liked it so much. Some policemen in Bulgaria, I was waiting to get into Bulgarian here on national television, and there's a policeman guarding the place. He saw the tooth and he said, "Oh, shark tooth." And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "It's supposed to protect you against sharks when you swim in the ocean." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, but we don't have an ocean here, but it's going to protect you against land sharks. You should see my mechanic." And so I remember that story was great. And then, the one thing I'm gonna save though
Uh-huh.
is this. So these shoes, these are my shoes. These boots.
Yes.
How
I
did
have.
you sneak those in? I did
They're in
not
my
even.
backpack.
Oh, okay.
So in my hand, I have two tiny boots, winter boots, that were a gift to me from my grandmother. She lived in Western Germany when I was 4 years old, which was amazing because I was behind the Iron Curtain and nobody lived in Western Germany. She was a West German citizen in Stuttgart, and
Uh-huh.
she would occasionally send us gifts from the West.
Mm.
And these boots were special. These are the first clothes that I remember. Really, I was 3 or 4
Mhm.
when I first put them on, and it was a very rough winter. We had feet and feet and feet of snow, and I would walk with my grandfather to childcare. It was a 1-hour walk through a lot of snow,
Mm.
and these boots I had a hard time putting them on. They were big. They were too big, so my pants. We had to put my pants into the. I remember the struggle to keep them on, and we would walk with my grandfather to the child care, and he would hold my hand and tell me grandfatherly stories, and we would have like serious conversations. And I remember that I cherished that time with my grandfather. And then uh, I somehow I kept those shoes with me, those boots, and I carry them all over the world wherever I go. This is the one thing I have. I'm attached to them. I'm attached to the stories and the affection to the people that are no longer with us. And these shoes and the soccer ball remind me, the story of the soccer ball remind me that sometimes there are items, soulful items, and soulless people in this world.
Mhm.
And it seems silly to get attached to an item, but sometimes they tell a story, those items, and it's worth keeping that story with you and carrying it with you forever.
That's beautiful, Mark.
Sorry,
Oh
sorry
no,
about
you are fine.
Absolutely.
You are fine.
So,
So I
do you
have.
have any other item, Ivo?
any other items.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, the hat,
Yes,
always.
yes. I think there's always a hat.
There used to be a
So,
bandana.
Yeah.
so I got some questions about those boots because, like, I don't believe anything you just said. Those you just bought those
Dude,
boots
I,
last
I
week.
see like
They are
the
in much
Sears.
too fantastic a condition for.
I mean, German
So,
engineering.
like,
Uh,
the snow doesn't hurt
look
the
at
rubber.
Yeah.
No, yeah, a little bit on a hill. No, it's amazing. Like
He's wearing the Volkswagen shirt for a reason.
That's it.
Villar,
Uh-huh.
Villar.
yeah.
Are they the sponsors tonight?
So,
Yeah.
question. Have your kids ever had their feet in those boots?
You know what? I think I tried Alena when she was a baby to
Mhm.
get her to wear them.
Right.
She might have worn them. I do remember. So on the way back from childcare,
Mhm.
we would stop with my grandfather at this place that had. It was like a bakery,
Mhm.
and we would have lemonade there
Right.
and cake.
Mhm.
And um, it was such an interesting thing because one time I remember the chairs. I was so tiny.
Mhm.
I'm gonna send you this picture. I'll put it on the website as
Sure.
well.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was so tiny that the chair looked too big, and I was holding on for dear life to the chair at that place because I was afraid I'm gonna fall and die.
Right.
And and then one day somebody snapped a picture of me at that place with these shoes on
Mhm.
and the lemonade in front of me.
Right.
And I was looking scared, like holding on to the chair and with these shoes, and you can clearly see these shoes, and you can see that they're big on my feet.
Mhm.
And um, this picture was black and white, and this was the first picture I saw in my life. They developed this picture and they gave it to my granddad, and he put it in our apartment. and I saw the picture, and I was petrified because I thought that I had become black and white. I didn't know that there's, that there could be black and white pictures. And I went quickly to the mirror. I looked at my hands to make sure they're pink. I looked in the mirror and I was so relieved. I was so relieved that I'm not black and white.
I'm honestly so glad you said that because I have a vivid memory from when I was about 3 or 4 years old, and my mom used to watch a lot of black and white TV shows or movies.
Yeah.
And I remember verbatim me asking my mom, "Mom, when did the world turn to color? When did the world stop being black and white?"
Oh my God.
So I'm so glad you
And
said
that's
something like
2 or
that.
3 years ago. you know, Alena, kids are the weirdest, man. Kids'
so
minds
weird.
are incredible. Alena, when she was little and we got on an airplane, we were on an airplane since she was born. She actually went to Europe when she was not even 1 year old the first time. So every summer we would go. But the first time that she kind of was cognizant about it, we took off, and she could talk now. She was like 3 years old, and she looked at me and said, "When are we gonna get small?" Because she was looking at airplanes taking off and getting smaller and smaller. So she assumed that everything inside the airplanes also gets smaller.
Right.
She also thought that Bulgaria is in the sky. Because I didn't bother to explain that we are taking off because it's faster that way and we have to cross the ocean. She assumed that the only reason we're taking off and going in the sky is because we're going to a place
Bulgaria's
in the
up
sky.
there.
And we are landing somewhere in the sky, and then we're going to come back to Earth after a while.
So when I first met Alena, this is probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. This is one of the very first stories I hear. And it's like, all of a sudden, I know that I am talking to a genius because this is such a beautiful, clearly, linear thought that's it's complete. And so,
Right.
yes, Alena has never disappointed me. Always got something
He's-
fantastic to say. So,
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That
It
means
is-
a lot to me. I'm
It's
just
very unexpected.
myself.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me.
Very unexpected stuff. When she was little, we would go in the car and it would be raining, and I would turn on the windshield wipers, and then we get off the car, walk through some puddles, go home. And she's like, "Why is there no windshield wipers for shoes? How is that even? Why is there no little tiny windshield wipers? Why are my shoes dirty now? Can I turn on the
Oh,
genius?"
I have no idea why I was sharing it, but I was literally just sharing the story of Alena in the Waiting for You in Taekwondo class. In
Oh, that is the best story
Oh.
ever. Master Park.
Oh yeah, Master Park.
Do you want to tell this story?
Was that story? I was slightly racist, I guess, but I was just 2 years old or 3 years old. So, but I don't. So
We were waiting for Brandon's practice to end.
We were waiting for Brandon's practice to end, and I had only ever seen Asian men doing taekwondo and Jackie Chan movies
Yeah.
before that point. So I was 3 years old. I was waiting for my cousin Brandon's taekwondo practice to end. Master Park came out. And
But no, you were making noise.
Oh, I was making noise because I can't be quiet normally I can't be quiet unless I'm typing. So I was babbling. I was making a bunch of noises and stuff. Master Park came out and yelled at me, right? And then I was very frightened for a second, but my reaction was to gasp and go, "Oh my God, Jackie Chan is mad at me."
No, she said. She
Jackie
looked at
Chan
me.
is mad
She
at
looked
me.
at me and very loudly said, "Oh, Jackie Chan is gonna get me." That's word for
That's
word.
what I said.
Jackie
I'm
Chan is
sorry.
gonna get me. And he just burst laughing.
I mean, what do you do when it's like a 2-year-old?
Right,
You know?
right, yeah. All right, so yeah, we're getting close to to quit and oh crap, it's late. Thank you guys so very much. Evo, I should check before we go. Did we hear anything from our marketing department this week?
Not this week after last week's shocking Charlie Daniels band fiasco.
You know, Charlie Daniels needs to record that song. It might be the new Monday Night Football.
Charlie Daniels was our sponsor last week. It was a disaster.
Oh,
It
no.
was awesome.
Now they don't want to touch us.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to say thank you to everyone and then say individually thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Evo. Thank you, Alena. Thank you, Mr. Coach. And thank you, Andre, wherever you are.
Disappeared into the ether.
Disappeared.
He has another appointment.
I understand. All right, guys, thank you very much. I have been Lewis, your host, and this is another episode of Friday Night. There I go again. Wednesday
night undressed. Yay!
It's Friday already?
Yeah, I know, right?